Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Monday, which is of course transfer deadline day here in the UK, and I've spent the weekend having messages after messages after messages sent to me on all my social media channels. What we're going to do, are Arsenal signing anyone? Here we are. What time is it recording this? It is 10:49 as I sit here recording this, so we are pretty much bang on 12 hours away from the deadline, and I am afraid to say, unless something pretty big happens and changes in the next 12 hours, and you can never rule it out, it is deadline day, anything can happen. We've seen it before. Arsenal pulled stuff out the bag, out of the blue on deadline day before last in the summer. Tomiyasu came, no one had even mentioned that on the day of it, and but as far as I'm concerned, from people I've spoken to at the moment, there just doesn't appear to be anything close unless something's being kept very, very under wraps, and Arsenal are going to pull off this big surprise and go and bang, trigger Isak's release clause. Then it just feels like this is going to be a day that is going to trundle on up to 11 o'clock with Arsenal not doing anything major in terms of incomings. There is, of course, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's future to be resolved in the next 12 hours, one way or the other. As I reported yesterday, deal now is close with Barcelona to take Aubameyang on loan to the Camp Nou. No obligation to buy anything like that. It'll be a straight loan. They're still talking about the exact sort of make up in terms of how much money Barca are going to be paying his wages, that sort of thing. So it's not done yet, but it's certainly heading in that direction of travel. I think there's a willingness on all sides to get this done. Arsenal want to get it done. Arteta clearly, as history suggests, once he falls out with a player, once he takes this sort of drastic action, they don't tend to come back into the reckoning. We've seen it with Ozil, Guendouzi, we've seen it now with Aubameyang. And it's just a huge, massive risk. The whole window has been a massive risk. If we go through these next 12 hours and Arsenal don't do something unexpected and pull something out of the bag, then it is just such a risky transfer window for Arsenal, and it is going to be on the heads of Edu and Mikel Arteta, you would think. Come the end of it, I know Arteta's probably going to get quite a bit of grief, but I think Arteta absolutely would have wanted to strengthen his squad this window. I think that's pretty clear from his comments during the window and before it. He wanted something done. For whatever reason, Arsenal have been able to do that. Edu hasn't got the deals done, and the board haven't sanctioned deals. Whatever it is, for whatever reason, Mikel Arteta hasn't got the players in that he has wanted, and now he is left with a significantly, I would say, weaker squad than the one he started the transfer window. Certainly that he started December with. You go back to December, before the window even opened, but the start of December, before the Aubameyang situation happened, because his last game was December the 6th, wasn't it, at Everton. You go back to then, and then you compare it to now, and there's no doubt about it, Arsenal's squad is significantly weaker. You've lost Aubameyang, who may not have been in the best of form, but he was still your best finisher, your best striker, really, even though he hadn't been playing very well. So you've lost Aubameyang, you've lost that option. You've lost Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who was a very useful option to have in the squad in terms he could play a lot of positions. Even if he hadn't been playing that many minutes, he was still a very useful player to have in the squad. You lost Callum Chambers, another useful player to have in the squad, who can play in a number of positions. You've lost Pablo Mari. It's just really risky. I mean, people like Balogun as well, who, although these guys haven't been playing very many minutes, they were still useful. Certainly Chambers and Ainsley Maitland-Niles of all of them. But even Pablo Mari, is a useful option if you need it in terms of a left-sided centre-back. And Arsenal don't really have that now. If Gabriel got injured, they don't have a left-sided centre-back, which is something Mikel Arteta always wants. So you have to look at it and think this has been a big risk. I mean, we've got to wait because you never know. Yeah, and again, as I was saying this, we've still got 12 hours to go to the window, and Arsenal might surprise us all and do something that's been kept so under wraps, or they might suddenly press the button and release, get a release clause done for Isak and just try and get that deal over the line. I don't know, but all I can say is that as it stands right now, at the moment of me talking, doing this video, I am not aware Arsenal are close to any sort of incomings. And with it being so late in the window, it just feels unlikely, although not impossible, that they're going to do it. And, I'll talk about it more tomorrow. I'll do a video tomorrow, once the window's shut and we know exactly what the situation is. But, it just feels risky. You're looking all around, clubs are strengthening, even Tottenham are getting a couple in from Juventus today, whether they end up being decent signings remains to be seen. Villa have strengthened during the window, Liverpool have strengthened during the window. Everyone seems to be getting at least one player in to strengthen the squad and maybe, give yourself that extra little push during the second half season. Arsenal have weakened their squad, which, it might not be decisive. We might look back on it, in 17 games time and Arsenal got themselves in the top four and think, hey, it worked out. You saved a lot of money in wages, you've freed up more space in the squad, and now in the summer you can really go in and get the players that you want to do. You haven't panic bought and it ended up being a right decision. It might end up being that way, and then you'd have to, you have to look back at it and say, well done. But as it stands right now, it's impossible to look at it and not think, Arsenal have taken a little bit of a risk with this one. In terms of Auba, I understand it in a way. Again, I've said it many times. If Arsenal weren't going to bring in a replacement this window and sign a striker, I would have personally said you've got to reintegrate Auba back into the fold and get him. Whatever happens, just get through to the end of the season with Auba because he gives you another option. But clearly, Arteta, what's gone on behind the scenes, he feels there's no way back from that. And like I said, history has always suggested that this was going to be it for Aubameyang, and if this deal does go through now with Barcelona, then that's that. It is only a loan, so they'll have to sort it out in the summer in terms of his future. He'll still have a whole year left in his contract. It's another player who's going to be going without Arsenal getting any transfer fee. He'll get a decent sized chunk of his wages off the wage bill, so they will save plenty of money in that regards. But look in this window: Pablo Mari loan, Auba loan, Maitland-Niles loan, Chambers basically a couple of million. They just don't get any decent money for these players. You could kind of understand weakening the squad if the offers came in were a bit too difficult to refuse because there was lots of money sort of riding on it that you could use to strengthen in the summer, but there's just not. And yeah, it's a weird transfer window. I have to say it's really difficult to look at it and think that Arsenal have put themselves in a good position for their top four battle. The good thing is obviously they've only got 17 games. They don't have any cup games to worry themselves with, and Mikel will be hoping, I'm sure, that they've got enough to get through to the end of the season without any, as long as they don't have any bad injury crisis. But it's a big if, isn't it? There's a proper fingers crossed. Usually you give yourself a bigger squad that you can cope with these sort of things. And for the first half of the season, Arsenal had a decent squad that they could cope relatively well with those sort of things. But now you look at it and it just doesn't seem like it. I mean, it's going to be stronger when they come back from Dubai. You're going to have Xhaka back, Partey back from suspension. Mohamed El-Neni will be back. Nicolas Pepe's now back with the squad. He's over in Dubai. He's joined up with them, which is good. He'll be back and he'll certainly provide another bit of goal threat that I think Arsenal have been lacking in January. I think Nicolas Pepe would have been very important. Certainly, you look at those games against that game against Burnley when Arsenal needed something different. I think Pepe could have provided that, and Mikel will certainly be hoping that Pepe can provide something pretty decent between now and the end of the season. So they will be stronger than they were before the break, but even so, they just feel a little bit light. There's been lots of players linked with them. We know, I mean, the whole Alexander Isak thing kicked off massively over the weekend. I got all the messages, everyone asking me what's going on with Isak. He's spotted in London, his BMW's out there. There's his number plate been spotted. It's been registered in January. It was proper Arsenal Twitter at their very, very finest. And but as far as I'm aware, he's a player that Arsenal like. But as it stands at the time of doing this video, I think he's back in Spain now. Anyway, he was over here with, I think, Januzaj, wasn't he? It just seemed like it was a bit of a sort of London sightseeing weekend while they were given their break, and he's back in Spain now, and it doesn't look like they're going to be doing anything for him. It's not saying they won't in the future. They might do it in the summer, but as it stands, either it's just one of those players that Arsenal like but haven't followed up their interest and haven't made a bid for. He is the one that you think, if anything's going to happen between now and deadline day, it could be him, because Arsenal don't need to negotiate anything like that, so they can do it at a late stage like they did with Thomas Partey. I've seen all of you messaging me on Twitter, quote tweeting that Thomas Partey tweet from a couple of years ago, whenever it was, which showed that Arsenal can do something late. But again, it just doesn't feel like it. There was always talk about Partey. We knew about how interested Arsenal were in him. before that. But this way, it's just all very quiet. They would be doing. Let's put it that way. If they're going to do something, they're going to be doing it very, very quietly behind the scenes at the moment. And so it just doesn't feel like it to me. And I hate to crush your dreams and send you into a disappointing deadline day with these comments, but I can only say what I've heard so far, and it's been repeated by other reporters as well, that there is just a sense amongst us lot who that it's just nothing's really going to happen apart from Aubameyang. So we'll wait and see. Hopefully, like I said, we can all be surprised and Arsenal can do some business and they can strengthen themselves and do something that leaves us happy at 11 o'clock tonight. Because talking as a fan, of which I am, I am, I want them to strengthen. They're giving themselves such a good opportunity in the top four this season with that start, and you just feel like a couple of players, a couple of more additions, sorting the striker. And it's the striker one's the main thing. That just kind of, you look at it and think, what you're doing? Where's the plan in there? You've basically going into the second half of the season with Alexander Lacazette and Eddie Nketiah as the only two central strikers. Yes, you've got options of potentially Martinelli or Pepe, but they're options of moving players out of positions, really. As strikers, you've only got Lacazette and Eddie Nketiah, who have got, well, is it Eddie's got one goal? I don't know. And has he scored in the Premier League this season? I can't actually remember if he scored in the Premier League this season. I think Lacazette's got 3. One of those was a penalty. And you're going into you're going into the final 17 games with those as your only options as a central striker. I mean, it just seems, I've said it before, it feels like a dereliction of duty from Arsenal, really. At a stage when they've given themselves a good chance, you want to push on at this stage and make yourself stronger. But Arsenal made themselves weaker and have left themselves in a difficult position. And ultimately, we're going to find out over the next 4 months if it proves to be a mistake. I know a lot of you think it's going to be a mistake. The way I'm looking at it now, it feels like it's going to be a mistake, but you never know. Lacazette could hit real sort of rich vein of form between now and the end of the season. He could stay, more importantly, injury-free. The other players around him can start scoring again, as they did in December, in Martinelli and Saka and Smith Rowe, and then you can get your goals that you need to sort of get you through until the summer, when Arsenal will certainly bring in at least one striker. It's going to need to be 2 strikers in January when it comes to them. So, there is still, you never know. You can only say, can't you? Say judge the window at the end of the window. We've got 11 hours left for that. Then you can say judge the season at the end of the season. But it just feels like Arsenal are leaving themselves a little bit light, I have to say. There might be a couple of other loan deals going through between now and 11 o'clock tonight. A few of the youngsters, it looks like Tim Akinola, the midfielder, is going up to Scotland. I think it's Dundee. Seems to be happening. Could be a couple other youngsters as well heading out, like Omar Rekik and a couple others as well. So keep an eye on those. But I think certainly the big one is just going to be Aubameyang between now and the end of the window. Can that happen in time? Will Barcelona be able to free up the wages they need to secure that? And can the two clubs agree on a deal? That's going to be the main thing, unless Arsenal do something spectacular and catch us all by surprise between now and 11 p.m. As always, I'll be covering it throughout, whatever happens. So keep checking my social media feed for all the latest news on deadline day when it comes to Arsenal, and please head over to goal.com. We'll have everything running through in our usual transfer blog on the website. We'll be covering everything from Arsenal and all the other clubs around Europe as all the deals happen right up until 11 o'clock tonight. Apologies if this video has left you feeling a little bit downbeat. You're probably hoping I was going to pop on here and say something like Arsenal are going to sign someone, we are going to do something, but as it stands, it just looks a little bit unlikely. So apologies for that, but who knows? Transfer deadline day is a mad day. Anything can happen. Something out of the blue can come and surprise us all. So let's wait and see what happens. The clock is ticking. Enjoy your day, everyone. Speak to you soon.